How's it going, everybody? My name is Rinzler here, back again for another video, and welcome to my Tim Burton Batman series. This is going to be the first of at least a few videos I plan to make about Tim Burton's Batman movies. And today, on my 18th birthday, we're going to be talking about why Michelle Pfeiffer's interpretation of Selina Kyle slash Catwoman was so damn good. Nearly 30 years later, people are still saying that she's the best Catwoman. And believe me, there has been a lot of attempts to outdo her performance over the years, but nobody's been able to do it. And some people have been asking why I love Catwoman and Batman Returns so much. And I decided that on my birthday, I wanted to make a video where I'd be talking about a character that I love so much and explaining why to those people why I think this character is so good. So before I get this video started, I just want to let you guys know that all the pictures and images that I use in this video are all the property of Warner Brothers and not me. So please, Warner Brothers, be nice and don't give me a copyright strike. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started on this video. Sorry that I stuttered a little bit. Now, this is admittedly the part of the list that I've been dreading making because I'm a straight male 18-year-old and I'm talking about a grown woman's sexual appeal. I'm not very comfortable talking about this, and I'm not trying to sound sexist at all, but her sexual elements are a strong part of her character, so I can't not talk about them. Her costume is very, very different compared to all the other Catwoman costumes we've seen before or since. Instead of being gray or purple like a lot of other Catwoman outfits, Pfeiffer's is all black, which fits very well with the style of the Burtonverse, as well as cleverly mirroring Batman's all-black costume. She makes her costume while she's having a mental breakdown, and her costume looks like something a woman would stitch while in a state of distress. Yes, the outfit is sexy, but there's more to it than that. It's covered in stitches, which symbolizes how Selina Kyle is just barely managing to keep herself together, and as the movie progresses, her outfit gets more and more torn up as more of her character begins to break through. But this is all about the Catwoman persona I'm just talking about. What about Selina Kyle? Well, I don't know how to describe it really, but Michelle Pfeiffer is very alluring in this movie. She dresses fairly modestly. None of her outfits show a lot of skin or anything, but she still comes through as a bombshell to me. She doesn't need to wear miniskirts and belly shirts to come off as hot. She just kind of is. During this date scene that she has with Bruce Wayne, her face glows really well, and she just comes off as incredibly hard to look away from. And this works on characters in the movie itself as well, with Penguin and Batman both falling for her as soon as they looked at her. But while her physical appearance has a lot to do with her popularity, there is a lot more to her character than just her physical attributes. In other iterations of her character, Selina slash Catwoman is generally a jewel thief who doesn't steal because she needs the money necessarily, as much as she just likes the thrill of stealing and being chased around by Batman. That's not what Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman is all about. She begins the movie as a meek and awkward secretary of Max Schreck. She's got a troubled life, being heckled by her nosy mother and telemarketers, bullied by her boss and her other superiors, and becoming low-key depressed as she returns home every day to nobody but her pet cat. In fact, her planned getaway trip with a guy that she likes is canceled, and you can see the hurt on her face as she realizes this and wonders if she did something wrong. Later on, she accidentally discovers her boss's shady plans and he pushes her out the window for it. But of course, she doesn't die. Instead, she returns home, where her answering machine continues to harass her and mention products from her boss's department store. Which, coupled with what has just happened to her, she has a completely understandable mental breakdown. She destroys her apartment and stitches together her Catwoman suit from a black raincoat. With the scene ending with a neon sign in her bedroom, which previously said "hello there," now saying "hell here." This transformation scene is one of the most memorable scenes in cinema history, and most people agree that this version of her origin story is done much better than her other versions. Her troubled life is a lot more relatable than a woman who gets a rush out of stealing jewels. Her depression and exhaustion are easy to sympathize with, and you truly feel bad for her as she goes through this crisis in her life. Immediately, you know that she's not going to be just a shallow villain. She's a real person who's just going through a very understandable breakdown. Starting with this scene, you feel bad for Selina and you want her to recover from this trauma and have a life that a hardworking girl like her deserves to have. One thing that I've always liked about Tim Burton's films during this time period is that he would never outright say that anything in his movies are magic, but instead leaves things open to interpretation. Like in Edward Scissorhands, Edward cuts ice sculptures which makes it snow in town. Clearly, this wouldn't happen in real life and can be interpreted as being magical. Selena has something similar going on for her in this movie. Her nine lives gimmick is never actually confirmed to be true or not. Throughout the movie, Selena almost gets killed multiple times, but she always manages to survive. Being pushed off two buildings, being shot twice, and being electrocuted wasn't enough to kill her off. She counts down each time she almost dies in this movie and claims that she has nine lives like a cat. It's never stated if this is true or not and is left open for people to speculate about, leading to a lot of people thinking about this movie after it's over and more people to keep coming back to watch it again. Michelle Pfeiffer has a myriad of memorable and incredible quotes to choose from throughout this movie that people still say today. Things like, "I'm Catwoman, hear me roar," "Sickos never scare me, at least they're committed," "Honey, I'm home," "Oh wait, I forgot, I'm not married," or when she told the cops, "You're overpaid, now hit the road." So many memorable quotes, and many of them still being realistic to this day, are another reason her character is so fondly remembered by fans. During this movie, Selena Kyle wants revenge on Max Schreck for pretty obvious reasons. He did try to kill her after all. Her entire reason for becoming Catwoman in the first place was to kill Max Schreck. But while she's still operating on two different personas, you still get the feeling that she's still human. Like when she saves a woman from being mugged on the street, which has nothing to do with her plan, and she's actually going out of her way to do it. Of course, she does unfairly call the woman out for always expecting to be saved, which isn't true, but the fact that this was Catwoman's first public appearance and the first thing that she does is save somebody shows that she has a moral compass and she was one of the first true anti-heroes. Later on, her morality shines through again when she pretends to eat a bird to impress Penguin, but spits it out again as soon as his back is turned. This shows that she isn't a monster. She's still a human who cares about the small things in life. And then finally, later on, when she realizes that Penguin's a bit too much, he lies to her and says that the Ice Princess that they kidnapped together would be allowed to live, only for him to then kill the Ice Princess to frame Batman. Selena calls Penguin out on this, but he just laughs it off like it's no big deal, and she's obviously uncomfortable about this. When it becomes clear to Selena that all Penguin wants to do is have sex with her, she's horrified, and you can see in her eyes that she's beginning to regret her decisions up to this point. She begins to doubt her plans, and she begins to remember that she already has something really great going on for her in her life. Easily my favorite thing about this movie is the amazing chemistry that Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman shares with Michael Keaton's Batman. Eventually, I intend to make a video about Keaton's Batman, but for now, let's see why his relationship with Selena was so damn endearing. The Burton versus Bruce Wayne is very, very different to all the other versions of Batman, in that he's not an emotionless robot or a cocky billionaire playboy. He's a quiet dude who's very modest about his wealth and is kind to people. To say the least, he's the most human and relatable Bruce Wayne you'll find, at least in live action. So obviously, he gets on really well with this vulnerable and relatable version of Selena Kyle. The scenes that they share together are the best scenes in the movie. When they fight each other as Batman and Catwoman, there's a certain playfulness to their interactions. Even though she cuts Bruce with her claws, he later stitches up the wound and smiles about it, realizing he actually kind of likes her. There's three scenes in particular that I'd like to go over between these two without them having their masks on. The first is when Bruce sees Selena Kyle on the streets and asks her out for dinner. He doesn't act cocky like he knows that he could win. He seems uncertain of his place, as though he wonders if he's good enough for her or not. Selena, meanwhile, is very happy to see Bruce again and is even more happy when he hears that he wants to, or she's more happy when she hears that he wants to be with her for dinner that night. Her eyes tell a great story, a story of both joy and vulnerability at the same time. Somebody who doesn't know what she's going through might miss this, but since we, the audience, know what she's going through, we see her eyes, and we know what she's got hidden deep down. In fact, Bruce even asks her if she's got a dark side to her, and her eyes just seem to light up when he says this because it's very true. The next scene is them on that dinner date. As I previously mentioned, Selena is absolutely glowing in this scene, making it hard not to be drawn into what's going on. When Bruce mentions Vicky Vale from the last Batman movie, Selena playfully asks him questions about her, questioning if she couldn't handle the truth about Bruce's own dark side. Bruce then backtracks and admits he can't talk about it because then she wouldn't let him kiss her because she'd be too creeped out by him. But then she only smiles joylessly and says her iconic line, "Sickos don't scare me, at least they're committed." which was an excellent callback to when she was lonely and depressed prior to her transformation. The two then start making out, where Bruce is in pain because of Catwoman previously stabbing him, and Selina also not wanting Bruce to see the scar on her arm. This scene reflects that they both have dark sides and scars, both physical and mental, and that the most comfort that they can find is with each other. Immediately after, when Bruce has to leave to be Batman and Selina has to go to be Catwoman, with neither one of them knowing about the other's costume identity, Bruce tries to tell Alfred to make up some excuse, stumbling on the right words to tell her without hurting her feelings. But then Selina gets up and also tries to tell Alfred what to tell Bruce without hurting his feelings. Alfred goes wide-eyed, realizing how similar these two really are. The final scene I'd like to mention is when the two of them are at Max Shreck's masquerade ball, and they're the only two not wearing masks at the entire party, which I thought was a nice touch. Then Selina is revealed to have a hidden gun on her ankle that she plans to use to kill Max Shreck. Bruce asks her who she thinks she is, and she just starts crying, and she says, "I don't know anymore." Bruce then comforts her by taking her in and passionately kissing her. But then Selina comments that they're kissing under mistletoe and says what Batman said to her earlier in the movie: "Mistletoe can be deadly if you eat it." Bruce responds with, "But a kiss can be even deadlier if you mean it." They then briefly break apart as they realize who the other person actually is. Selina seems to be really disappointed and asks if they have to start fighting each other really sadly. But Bruce doesn't want to fight her just because she's Catwoman. He loves her, and she loves him. They fell for each other twice, once under masks and again without them. At the end of the movie, when Bruce offers for her to give up her revenge quest on Max and go back with him to Wayne Manor, she's quite literally torn between her two halves, with her Selina half wanting to be with Bruce, and her Catwoman half wanting to kill Max Shreck. Ultimately, Catwoman wins and she kills Max. But then at the end, it's revealed that she's still alive and has 2 lives left. This was, of course, supposed to set up a sequel that we never got to see. Honestly, talking about this couple is literally making me tear up a bit. That's how good that they were together. This is why I believe Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman was the very best. She was extremely quotable, sexy, enduring, alluring, relatable, vulnerable, sweet, awkward, and completely easy to sympathize with and root for. She was the epitome of what an antihero is supposed to be, and has, in my opinion, the best romance in a superhero movie. There's a lovely underrated fanfiction called Forever, Just Like in a Fairy Tale, on fanfiction.net, which is an alternate version of the ending. In this version, Selina comes to terms with her human half and goes home with Bruce, agreeing to live with him in his castle. It's a very sweet and faithful story that makes this story all the more great in my opinion. I honestly wouldn't have minded if this story was the true ending to the movie. I'll leave it in the description below. Please read it. All in all, she was sexy, badass, and a truly beloved character, as has been for nearly 30 years, and will continue to be as time goes on. In my opinion, she was Tim Burton's greatest tortured soul character. If you haven't seen Batman Returns yet, what are you waiting for? Go watch it now, because I can't do this character justice in just words and pictures. There's something for everyone to love in her character, and you need to just see her for yourself. Every time I think about the unmade Batman Continues movie, as well as the planned Catwoman spinoff that also never got made, it just makes me more and more sad because Michelle Pfeiffer absolutely killed it in this role. She might have not been the first choice to play the character, but she was certainly the last, considering how amazing that she was in this movie. She absolutely owned the role, and she's the character most people think of when they think of Tim Burton's Batman movie, oftentimes more so than Batman himself. Her chemistry with Bruce Wayne was absolutely sweet and endearing, just like Edward Scissorhands' relationship was in his own movie. Tim Burton was really great at building up relationships in his earlier films, and I kind of miss that in his current films, if I'm being perfectly honest. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, remember to give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with all of your friends and all of your various social media accounts. Remember to ring that notification bell. And remember to comment down below and tell me what I did and didn't do so well in this video. And I'll see all you dudes and chicks in the next video. Go watch Batman Returns.